We have some major updates on the Joel Embiid to the New York Knicks situation. According to one NBA insider, he actually suggests that Joel Embiid wants to be a New York Knick. And one NBA insider that I spoke to directly told me that out of all of the trade targets linked to the Knicks have their eyes set on only one of them. And that target is Joel Embiid. We're going to break down all of these reports and let you know exactly what they mean. All of this and so much more today. Let's get started. Joel Embiid reportedly wants to be a Knick. Now, I know what you're saying to yourself. Troy, why are we talking about this? The Knicks are only a few days away from starting their own regular season. So why are we talking about trades, especially ones for superstars, including Joel Embiid? Well, the main reason we're talking about it is because it's still making headlines, folks. According to one NBA insider in Chris Broussard, he actually suggested that Joel Embiid wants to be a Knick and stated that the quote-unquote scuttlebutt, well, if you're looking at to what that word means, that word just means gossip. So the gossip going around the league is that Joel Embiid actually wants to be a Knick. According to FS1's Chris Broussard, according to Fox 1's Chris Broussard, he states that the scuttlebutt around the league is that Joel Embiid wants to be a Knick. Now here's what he said exactly. Broussard is hearing that a running rumor around NBA executives and players alike is that Joel Embiid would be flirting with the idea to play with the New York Knicks. But he also added that he wouldn't dare say it out loud, because if this trade were to happen, it would have to come after the New York Knicks themselves try to make a move for Embiid. Also, it's practically impossible that the Sixers leadership would even consider letting their best player leave, especially with all the drama surrounding James Harden. Now, this is not a quote-unquote rumor if you've been following the Joel Embiid situation all offseason like I have. Because all offseason, the rumor, the gossip, the reports have all suggested that the Knicks and Joel Embiid have been linked. Joel Embiid wants to be a New York Knick. If he were to leave Philadelphia, he would be headed to New York. So all of this is not brand new. The only thing that is a little bit more new for this report, more than anyone else, is that Chris Broussard himself is stating that other executives around the league are suggesting that Joel Embiid himself wants to be a New York Knick. And here's why this is important. The only way, I want to make sure I repeat this, the only way Joel Embiid becomes a New York Knick is if he himself goes up to Daryl Morey, or it gets out there because his camp leaks it, that he wants a change of scenery and he wants to leave the 76ers. If that happens, then and only then do I believe the Sixers would entertain trading Joel Embiid. That's the first domino. The other domino is that James Harden would actually have to be traded from the 76ers, and it would have to end extremely bad. Bad meaning that the trade package they got back for James Harden wouldn't be anything. It would mean that if you looked at the package, you would be like, they got that for James Harden? And if we're saying that, it's likely Joel Embiid would say that. So Daryl Morey has a very sensitive situation to deal with here, because if he messes this up, he could not only lose one of his stars, he could lose both of them in one fell swoop. And he better hope that he gets a good return for both of them. Because if not, he could be fired as president for the 76ers. This is all something that we got to watch headed into the season. Because once one domino gets hit, once James Harden gets traded, once we see what the trade package is, once we see how Joel Embiid actually feels about the Sixers, what if the Sixers get off to a bad start and we start hearing that quote-unquote scuttlebutt about Joel Embiid not being happy and potentially wanting to leave the 76ers? What happens in those situations? Well, reports like this are going to come back up again as soon as Joel Embiid is quote-unquote unhappy in Philadelphia. I'm telling you, I've known it and I've seen it. And I've seen it not only with Joel Embiid, I've seen it with a number of other superstars. Anthony Davis, I saw it with him until the end. So I can definitely see this playing out in that way for Joel Embiid if the 76ers get off to a bad start and the situation gets even more toxic than it is now, if that's even possible with James Harden. So we have a lot of things to watch. I know a lot of Knicks fans like myself are happy to go into the season. We're ready. We want to see what this Knicks team can do. But we have one eye looking at Philadelphia, waiting to see that whole thing crash and burn and see what Joel Embiid wants to do. Does he want to stay in Philadelphia? Does he want to go out west? Or does he want to go to a place where he has a lot of connections? A place like New York. A team like the New York Knicks. I hope that's the case, but there's a lot that needs to go right in order for the New York Knicks to get Joel Embiid. And unfortunately, I just don't see that happening. But that doesn't mean that the New York Knicks are going to stop. Because according to one NBA insider that I spoke to directly for the New York Post Sports in Dexter Henry, he actually states that out of all of the trade targets linked to the Knicks have only one target in mind. And that's Joel Embiid. According to Dexter Henry, he states the following. The Knicks have the most interest in Joel Embiid over any other trade target. He did note, though, that Cat is still the most likely in-season trade target. Now, according to Dexter Henry, he states the following. I hear that the Knicks are interested in Joel Embiid the highest for sure. In terms of the rankings, the Knicks are doing their due diligence. They are going to keep tabs on the guys they have connections with. This is no surprise. We knew the Knicks were quote-unquote doing their due diligence and monitoring each and every player that they liked or had a connection to the New York Knicks. Now, you may be asking yourself, why only are the Knicks targeting players that have a connection or a link to New York? Well, here's the main reason why. If you give out a significant contract to a player, or you trade away or let go of significant assets to sign or trade for that player, and that player leaves after their contract is done, you're probably a worse team. So that player needs to have a desire to want to play in New York, have a connection to New York, wants to come to New York already. And because of that, some of the players that have been mentioned, Joel Embiid, Karl Anthony Towns, Donovan Mitchell, all of those players have a clear connection either to New York, Donovan Mitchell, or to Leon Rose himself, Cat and Joel Embiid. So because of that, the Knicks want to play on those relationships to take an opportunity to find out how committed those players are to New York if they were to come here and if they're in it for the long haul. Because if that's the case, the Knicks probably wouldn't mind giving up a couple of more assets, a couple of young players, and maybe giving out those contracts, those big, gigantic contracts in order to keep those players on the roster. Because I think it all starts with a desire and a connection to New York and the Knicks. For the Knicks to go out there and get that player and keep that player that they want. Who that player is going to be, Donovan, Joel, Cat, we don't know yet. But one thing's for sure. According to this NBA insider that I spoke to directly in Dexter Henry, he's told me directly, it's Joel Embiid and nobody else right now. And I think to an extent, we all believe that, we all know that, and we all knew that this was the truth. So this is not shocking. This is just more or less confirming what we already knew. And you know what? I like confirmations. So shout out to Dexter Henry from the New York Post Sports for actually giving us this update and being very candid in the interview I had with him. Not only about this topic, but about other topics as well too. If you didn't catch that live stream, definitely go check that one out, as well as if you didn't catch that live stream, definitely go check that one out, as well as all of the other live streams that I've been so happy to do with a lot of the guests I've had this month, including Alan Hahn, Bill Pito, Mark Berman, and the list goes on and on and on. Definitely check those videos out if you haven't done so already. But to wrap this one up here, I definitely think that while the New York Knicks have their eyes set on Joel Embiid, they're not going to make a trade for any other star until the Joel Embiid situation resolves itself. Once that happens, you can bet and guarantee that the Knicks will start looking at the Cats of the world, the Donovan Mitchells of the world, the OG Anunobys of the world. Mark my words on that. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you want the New York Knicks to trade for Joel Embiid? Or do you think that this is all a conversation we really shouldn't be having, and this is a conversation for the next offseason, and we should really be focused on the current season for the New York Knicks? Let me know in the comments below, because honestly, guys, I would love to hear from you. But until next time, Knick fans, don't forget to smash that like button, leave a comment below, and of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you later, Knick fans. Peace.